Sunday night in the Super Bowl, we witnessed firsthand the difference between an experienced head coach, an elite head coach, a guy who's been there before, and an inexperienced coach that is clearly still learning on the job. We also saw the difference it makes when you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes under center. Mahomes had arguably the worst game of his season, most definitely his worst game of this postseason, and still managed to overcome a 10-point fourth quarter deficit and win. I thought that 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan was disastrous. And when I say that, I don't mean that his game plan was bad. Obviously it wasn't. The 49ers led 3/4 of that game. But there were several key moments in that game where Kyle Shanahan just shit the bed. Now, I'm not going to sit here and blame him solely for the loss. Jimmy Garoppolo had a lot to do with it. But Kyle Shanahan was coaching in the biggest game of his career not to lose instead of coaching to win. He set the tone for the rest of the game at the end of the first half. When the Niners stopped Kansas City near midfield on third down, they had 3 timeouts, 1:40 to go on the clock. I kept waiting and waiting and waiting on Kyle Shanahan to call a timeout. Never happened. He let 40 fucking seconds run off of the game clock. San Francisco gets the ball back. They're on 25. I'm thinking that they'll start moving the ball downfield. Nope. 2 straight running plays. Never calls a timeout. They finally take 2 shots downfield when it's clear that the Chiefs wouldn't have enough time to do much if they created a turnover. But by then, it was too late to take risk. It was almost like Kyle Shanahan was unsure of what he wanted to do. They were burning the clock, but they were also snapping the ball with 15 seconds on the play clock on a running play. At this point, I'm thinking, what the fuck is he thinking? Now, sure, the pass interference call on George Kittle was a little bit weak, but Kyle Shanahan didn't deserve to be bailed out like that. You don't take risk. You can't expect for the officials to bail you out and give you the reward. In his post-game interview, Shanahan said that he felt really good going into halftime, tied 10-10. Against a team that is known to get hot and score points with a quickness. This is the same mindset that Bill O'Brien coached the Texans with against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. Elected to kick that field goal on 4th and inches to go up 24-0 instead of going for it with Deshaun Watson in your fucking backfield. How'd that end up for Bill O'Brien? Oh yeah, the Texans lost when Kansas City got hot and steamrolled them. Shanahan can talk all he wants about how he trusts Jimmy G. He is full of shit. The decisions he made in the first half proved to the world that he has no trust in his quarterback. In the biggest game of his career, how do you think that made Jimmy G feel? His head coach had no confidence in him. In the same situation, ending the first half with 3 timeouts, do you think that Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, or hell, even Andy Reid are wasting the clock like that? In the Super Bowl? Fuck no. Every one of those guys are attacking because they know points are at a premium. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to play to win. Instead, Kyle Shanahan was content to go into halftime tied at 10. He had a chance to grab the momentum, and he let it pass him by. His conservative play calling extended into the second half as well. First drive of the third quarter. Niners have it 4th and 2 at the Kansas City 24. Shanahan sends out Robbie Gould to kick a field goal. You're playing against one of the highest scoring teams in the league. Field goals aren't going to get it done against Patrick Mahomes. Not to mention the fact that your offense hadn't punted all game at this point. They were averaging 7.6 yards per play. You don't have enough faith in your offense to pick up 2 fucking yards against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL? Lucky for Kyle Shanahan, though, his defense was giving Patrick Mahomes problems the entire game. with a little assistance from Andy Reid. The weakness of the 49er defense is on the edges, and Patrick Mahomes was killing them when he was rolling out of the pocket to throw downfield. In the third quarter, they ran a few plays in a row with Mahomes rolling out, and Kansas City was moving the ball with ease. Then, inexplicably, Andy Reid starts calling plays with Patrick Mahomes in the pocket like a sitting duck, with the best pass rush in the NFL after his ass. And what happened? Fumble that Mahomes recovered, then a bad interception. Should have been the turning point of the game. Jimmy G led the Niners downfield, went up 10 points nearing the end of the third quarter. But then San Francisco completely collapsed. I'm not going to blame Kyle Shanahan for the fourth quarter collapse. Although I found it really strange that when they were up 20-17 and trying to run clock, he throws the ball on 2nd and 5 with the quarterback that he doesn't trust. Made absolutely no sense to me. But the collapse in the fourth quarter lays squarely on the shoulders of Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes, the defense was atrocious in the fourth quarter. Richard Sherman got blown up by Sammy Watkins for a deep ball. However, this was an opportunity for Jimmy Garoppolo to silence his critics, to prove to people that he's worth that $140 million contract, that he's on the same level as the Brees, the Bradys, the Russell Wilsons, the Patrick Mahomes. I actually defended Jimmy G on Twitter in the first half after he threw that interception, then came back the next drive, led the Niners downfield into the end zone. But the fourth quarter, he was absolutely horrendous. Some of the worst quarterback play in a Super Bowl that I've ever seen. 3 of 11 for 36 yards. The definition of god-awful. He had Emmanuel Sanders wide open for a 49-yard touchdown late in the fourth quarter that probably would have won the game. And he overthrew him badly. The moment looked too big for Jimmy Garoppolo. This is why you've got to have elite-level quarterback play to win the Super Bowl. You look at the other sideline, Patrick Mahomes, down 10 points in the fourth quarter. Everything that can go wrong has went wrong. First time all season, he's thrown multiple interceptions in a game. Yet when it matters most, he has the ability to carry his team and turn it all around. Then you've got Jimmy Garoppolo, who, when things are going well, looks great. When things are perfect around him, he looks good. But when the pressure mounts, when the pocket collapses, when the game begins to speed up, when the eyes of America are on you, he folds. Couldn't get it done. It's as simple as that. One of the reasons that I place a lot of the blame for the 49ers' loss in the Super Bowl on Kyle Shanahan is because this isn't his first Super Bowl collapse. He was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when the Falcons gave up that 28-3 lead to New England. He didn't learn from his mistakes. He started calling the offensive plays in that Super Bowl against New England a bit too aggressively. And then Sunday night, he took the complete opposite approach. The Niners ran the ball twice in the last 10 minutes of the game. In the Super Bowl era, teams are 29-3 when they're leading by 10 points in the fourth quarter. 2 of those 3 losses involve Kyle Shanahan. You can't play it safe and win. You just can't do it. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs. I was happy to see Andy Reid cement his legacy. Because believe me, he wasn't making the Hall of Fame without the ring. I'm glad he got it. I think Andy Reid is one of the best coaches that this league has ever seen. Now he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. But by playing it safe, by limiting risk and playing not to lose, and the poor play by Jimmy G in the fourth quarter, Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers lost this game more than the Chiefs won it. Now, I'm hearing a lot of talk today about how both Kansas City and the Niners are going to be great in the future, how both are set up for long-term success. I'd say the Chiefs have a brighter outlook than San Francisco, mainly because they've got Patrick Mahomes. And also because the NFC is stacked. The only team in the NFC to make 2 Super Bowls in the past decade is Seattle. But you just don't know in this league. Both of these teams could be watching the playoffs home from next season. By the way, I've got to give credit to Frank Clark. I blasted him last week for talking shit on D Ford for being offsides in last year's AFC Championship game. Even though Clark was called for an offsides on 3rd down in the first quarter, he had a major impact on that game, especially late in the 4th quarter. And he backed up his shit talk. At the end of the day, you couldn't have asked for a better game in the Super Bowl. The NFL does an excellent job every year making the Super Bowl this massive spectacle. Casual viewers watch for the commercials. I hate commercials, so I didn't see any of them. But I will say the NFL 100 commercial that opened up the broadcast was phenomenal. They had that kid running through all the different NFL cities. Drew Brees threw him a pass. It looked like him and Alvin Kamara were running down Bourbon Street in New Orleans at one point. They actually ended the commercial with him running on the field live in Miami to open the game. It was perfectly executed. I also thought the halftime show was amazing. I'm normally not big on Super Bowl halftime shows. And I got to admit, I was a bit skeptical when they announced Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. Both are well past their peak popularity. I mean, Jennifer Lopez is fucking 50 years old. Shakira's 43. But damn it, neither one of them looked a day over 30. I could have skipped the second half of the game and just continued to watch both of them shake their asses for the next couple hours. It was a great halftime show. The NFL gave out their regular season awards Saturday night before the Super Bowl. Most were predictable. Lamar Jackson, league MVP. Michael Thomas, offensive player of the year. Then they named John Harbaugh coach of the year. And I got a bit of a problem with that. First, I'm not taking anything away from John Harbaugh. The Ravens had a phenomenal year. Best record in the league, number 1 seed in the AFC. They even beat Pittsburgh with their backups in Week 17. They were a great football team. However, Sean Payton should have been coach of the year. And it shouldn't have even been close. Lamar Jackson was healthy all season. The Ravens as a whole, for the most part, were healthy all season. The Saints dealt with injuries to key players all season long. Lost Drew Brees for 5 weeks. Went 5-0. Alvin Kamara was out for a couple of games. They were shuffling guys on the offensive line all season long due to guys being out to injury. Lost Sheldon Rankins for the season, key defensive lineman. Lost Von Bell late in the season. Sean Payton was rotating guys in and out all year at key positions, and his team never skipped a beat. Still finished at 13-3 and won the NFC South. After all of that, Sean Payton got 1 vote. 1 fucking voter thought Sean Payton was worthy of Coach of the Year. It's a slap in the face to a guy that's won more games the last 3 years than any other coach in the league. He wasn't the only coach that was snubbed either. I'm not being a Saints homer here. I don't think Mike Tomlin should have won the award, but he definitely deserved more than 2 votes. To have the Steelers finish 8-8, rotating Mason Rudolph and some fucking grown man named Duck Hodges in and out at quarterback is nothing short of remarkable. Tomlin entered the season on the hot seat and saved his job this year. Green Bay coach Matt LaFleur received more votes than Mike Tomlin and Sean Payton combined. Are you fucking kidding me? The guy with players on his team admitting publicly how unprepared they were for the NFC Championship game is receiving more votes than 2 Super Bowl winning legendary head coaches. Something isn't right with this voting process, or they have fucking imbeciles voting. It's one of the two. In what world is Matt LaFleur considered a better candidate for Coach of the Year over Sean Payton and Mike Tomlin? All right, moving on. I'm going to close out with the NBA today. I've been a big supporter of keeping Jrue Holiday in New Orleans. There's a group of about 5 or 6 of us Pelican fans on Twitter that have been debating whether or not David Griffin should trade Jrue Holiday before Thursday's deadline. We've been talking about this for about a month now, and I've been in the camp of keeping Jrue in New Orleans. The reason is, I felt like this team, consisting mainly of younger players, needed Jrue Holiday's leadership. But after watching the Pelicans this past week, and especially in that game Sunday against the Rockets, my mind has changed. The Pelicans need to trade Jrue Holiday, and they need to do it now. There's no reason at this point to wait until the offseason. The fact of the matter is, Jrue Holiday no longer fits on this team. It's that simple. It's painful watching him run this offense when Lonzo Ball is on the bench. New Orleans opened up that game against Houston with plenty of ball movement, guys finding the open man, unselfish play. Soon as Lonzo Ball takes a break and hits the bench, the offense becomes stagnant. Jrue Holiday begins playing iso ball. Not only that, his decision-making is god-fucking awful. Turnover after turnover after turnover. Bad passes, missed free throws in critical situations, bad fouls. Not to mention the fact that he struggles against the better teams in the NBA. 11 fucking points Sunday against the Rockets. 0 of 5 from the three-point line. He struggled against the Lakers a few weeks ago. God-awful against the Spurs. He's making $26 million a year. He isn't making that kind of money to beat up on the scrubs in the league. The Pelicans need him, especially as leader of the team, to step up in these big games. People that want to keep Jrue Holiday in New Orleans will argue that the Pelicans need him for defense. He is one of the better defenders in the league, but the Pelicans still rank near the bottom in just about every defensive category. Jrue Holiday can defend just about every position on the court, but what this team really needs is a stretch player. And they're badly in need of a backup point guard, because every time Lonzo Ball is off the court, the offense looks like it's being run by a guy who's blindfolded. It's that bad. People that want to keep Jrue Holiday in New Orleans will argue that he's been here for so long. He struggled through the tough times. He deserves to be on the team as they're coming up and building towards contending for a championship. But this is the same type of thinking that kept Alvin Gentry on the sideline in New Orleans this season. It took Alvin Gentry 15 fucking years to win 500 games in the NBA. He's a sub-500 head coach. More losing seasons than winning seasons. The Pelicans are damn near last in the league in turnovers. Why is that? Part of the reason is they're still learning to play with each other, but a lot of it has to do with Alvin Gentry's system. Gentry should have been let go after last season, but they kept him around because he handled the Anthony Davis debacle so well. Who fucking cares? I talk about this all the time. When you go through a divorce with a superstar player like the Pels did last year with AD, and you're starting fresh, you're going into a rebuild, you don't keep the same head coach around. The only reason you would keep your coach is if he's a proven winner, which Alvin Gentry is not. You start fresh, you bring in someone new. New Orleans needs a young, energetic head coach, a coach that matches this team's youth and energy. Getting back to Jrue Holiday, trading him is going to be a tough decision for David Griffin. He's come out publicly and stated that he wants to stay in New Orleans. He loves it here. His family loves it here. And I'll give it to him. The team does seem to be developing a close bond under his leadership. And his numbers aren't that bad. Statistically, he's having a good season. But it's the things that don't show up on paper that are affecting this team. Along with everything I said earlier, giving Jrue Holiday minutes is taking away from the Pelicans being able to develop some of their younger players. Guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Josh Hart are losing minutes that are being given to Jrue Holiday. His value will never be higher than it is right now. His contract runs through 2022, but he has a player option after next season. So any potential playoff contenders that want Jrue Holiday would be guaranteed to keep him for at least a season and a half, potentially 2.5 years. By the time Zion Williamson and the young core in New Orleans develop into title contenders, Jrue Holiday will likely be gone anyway. Definitely be out of his prime. I love the guy. I really do. I hate to see him go. He's been great for the city, been great for the team, but it's time for the Pelicans to trade him. All right, that's all for today, guys. I'll be back Friday. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Leave me a 5-star rating on iTunes. You guys have a good week, and I will see you on Friday morning.